راح يكون معنا الأخ كريم قلعاوي رئيس خدمات الحوسبة السحابية زينتك، وعنوان محاضرته راح يكون مواجهة تحديات المهارات في اعتماد السحابة باستخدام الخدمات المدارة. شلون تفهمونها؟ This is up to you. أخلي الأستاذ كريم قلعاوي.
So this afternoon I'd like to speak about a very interesting topic. We've been talking since morning about cloud, about e-government, transformation, but there is one major thing that holds everybody back, which is how fast can we transform, specifically human skills. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I would like to talk a bit about the challenges that you would face in transforming and moving to an e-government platform, specifically in terms of human skills. If you look today, the foundation of digital transformation, the foundation of change is all about basically adopting one form or another of cloud computing. And when I say cloud computing, is the concept. Elasticity, pay-per-use, scalability, and so on and so forth. So we typically look at cloud into three different stages. Cloud adoption. The first one is looking at it from an infrastructure perspective. This is where you look whether I need to move to public clouds, like Ali was talking earlier about AWS, private cloud, so solutions in country like the ones provided by Zain and Zaintech, infrastructure as service, and most importantly, this phase, this particular stage, is about one core thing: optimizing the cost of my IT. However, here, you don't get the most benefits out of cloud. What you're getting a scalable platform that is standardized, but you're still running your traditional legacy applications. The next phase is moving to modern applications. And we start looking at leveraging the best cloud for the workloads. So we look at, if I need big data, would I put it on-premise or on a private cloud? Chances are no. It's a lot more efficient to put it on a public cloud provider that has a lot of scale. They can provide me with humongous data lakes where I can do my data crunching. AI, IoT workloads, etc., so on and so forth. So this is where the transition moves into multi-cloud and hybrid. So you have workloads that sit on-premise, workloads that sit in a private cloud, and workloads that move to the public cloud that are seamlessly managed over the three different clouds. And finally, in terms of technology, there is a transformation, kind of a replatforming, re-architecture. Instead of using, let's say, a traditional old-school Oracle application stack where I have an operating system, a database, and an application server, I might say, you know what? I can do a lot more efficient things using platform as a service. Okay? Now, this starts getting some of the capabilities of cloud, but it is, again, an intermediate step. The real final step that would enable your digital transformation, your adoption of cloud technologies, is in re-imaged processes. We look at cloud capabilities in a very different way. We move to cloud native. We create modernized application platform. We revisit the way our processes work. So this is really the implementation of digital transformation. And finally, we leverage the full power of cloud with analytics, AI, IoT, and other advanced capabilities. Now, that's the journey. However, there are a lot of concerns. Okay? Whenever we're adopting a new platform, I've lumped them into 4 separate areas. The first and foremost, when we're moving to something that's not in-house, I'm moving, let's say, to Zane Cloud, I'm moving to AWS, I'm moving to Microsoft, there is always a concern when something is not under your desk in your own data center, you feel there is a concern about security. Founded or unfounded, that's a different story, but there is a concern that needs to be addressed. There's also the concern that you are running a plane while you're upgrading it, right? Your technology team would need to do 2 things at the same time. They were right-sized, Corona and other reasons, right? And they were just stretched to the limit to run the existing platform. But now you want to run another platform that is an evolution of the current while keeping everything running in parallel on your current platform. So you do have a big stretch in terms of capability. Skilling is a big, big issue, right? Today, you know your technologies. You know what you have bought, what you have acquired. You've been, let's say, working with your core vendors for the last several years and ensured that your whole team is up to specs on the latest and the greatest that these vendors can provide. But now with the transition to cloud, irrespective, be it a VMware cloud, a Microsoft cloud, an AWS cloud, Google cloud, there is a significant reskilling effort. And finally, with the concept of cloud, particularly public cloud, comes the notion of utility billing. And with utility billing, you have a model where you pay per use. But what happens when this cost isn't controlled? You have a situation where you have runaway costs. If you don't have a proper management and control of what you're provisioning, what you're spending, this can incur significant costs. So having said that, what would an ideal partner for your transformation offer you? We look typically at 3 areas. The first is advisory services. Understanding what you need to do, okay, and helping you identify what are your future needs, right? How do we do that? With advisory services, you will have an enterprise architect working closely with you to look at your digital transformation journey and how that would translate into a cloud adoption, okay? Which is the right cloud? How do I size it? All of those we can help you with. We also help you set your cloud strategy. Now, that's fine. The outcome of such an engagement is obviously a document. And this you would get from any cloud consultancy company. The next phase is the transformation journey, right? So you have the app transformation to cloud. You have 50 workloads, 100 workloads that today are running on-premise. You want to transform them and implement them on top of cloud services. You need to design a platform underneath it to be able to run your workloads efficiently, securely, and with a controlled cost. And finally, once we have designed this, we looked at what we want to move. The final phase is actually building, implementing, integrating that cloud platform. However, most organizations believe that this is the end journey when transforming to cloud. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong, because there's a very important component, which is the management capability of this cloud platform. And here we're talking the day-to-day operations, right? As well as the continuous cloud education of your team so that they can get the benefit of this cloud platform. Obviously, when we're talking operation, a big part of it is not just the proactive operation, but also the cost management and everything that comes to it. So in here, I would like to go into a bit more details. So typically, when a company transforms and adopts cloud, they're typically looking at those capabilities. So what does a company want? We start with improved security and compliance, right? I don't want to be at the same level. I actually want to be better on cloud than I am on premise. It's not enough to have a horizontal shift. Because you have a lot more attack vectors, you have a lot more potential exposures, right? Keep in mind, you're a lot more vulnerable when you're on premise because it's based on a strategy of, I don't see it, so it doesn't exist, right? We put our head in the sand, and we believe that on-premise is more secure. When it is online, public cloud, private cloud, there's a lot more visibility, and this exposes your platform. So you need to have a lot more security than what you would have on-premise. You need enhanced scalability. So one of the core reasons people move to cloud is to be able to scale as needed. A good example is what's happening in neighboring Qatar, okay? They have an event, a once-in-a-lifetime event with the FIFA World Cup. What do they need to do? They're going to have a spike across all their systems that is probably 2 to 3 times their traditional volume, right? Whether it is visas, whether it is hotel accommodations, whether it is traffic, whether it is any type of service that a government entity might provide, they have a huge spike that would last them about a couple of months, right? So they would need to be able to scale up and then scale down when they're not using it. This is what the cloud can do. Improved business continuity and disaster recovery, right? The whole idea of having a cloud platform is that I could activate a disaster recovery site literally in minutes. Why? Because cloud gives me that capability. I don't have to worry about location. I can move my data as needed between cloud platforms in an ideal scenario and be able to recover and continue my work unaffected by any physical or cyber disaster that might have hit me. Reliability, obviously, that comes along with the increase in business continuity along with security, right? You cannot have that business continuity if you don't have a very reliable platform. You need to have the technical expertise to get the job done, right? Meaning, in a lot of the cases, when you're on-premise, and sorry for putting it very bluntly, when you are at the mercy of a technical team, they will be a blocker to change if they are not dynamic enough. Meaning, if they don't want to change, if they don't want to learn new things, there will always be a showstopper in you adopting specific technologies, even if those technologies are necessary for your transformation, right? So you want to ensure that no matter what your business requirement when it comes to technology, you will have the capabilities to implement that. Now, one very important thing that comes with cloud is that you can get cloud with a managed service. What's the most important thing about a managed service? A managed service is you measure a vendor based on outcome. So I'll give you a very good example. Most of you are familiar with services from Microsoft like Office 365, right? Office 365, I use this example because everybody's familiar with it. They give you a 99.9% guaranteed uptime, which means you don't care if there's an internet break, if there is a hack, if there is a power failure, you have a guaranteed SLA that you're going to get your service. And this is what you should aspire when you get a cloud service. You need to have rock solid SLAs that are financially guaranteed so that no matter what, you will get your service or your money back. And finally, or before that, you also need to have proactive support. So a lot of people, when you're looking at managed services, you look at it from the perspective of annual maintenance contracts. Yeah, so I have managed services, which means that if my network is down or my printer is out of toner or whatever, someone will come and fix it. This is not a managed service. At best, this is a support services. A core component of managed services is proactive support. What do I mean by that? You need someone that can continuously monitor the performance of your systems, monitor the availability, the security, and proactively address issues before they become problems. If you're running out of disk space, proactively, once you reach a particular threshold, you will automatically have an increased disk space without it having to cause a problem, a system down. When you have a security incident, let's say a particular machine was compromised, that machine should be automatically isolated from the rest and remediation action be taken before you even are aware that there was an issue. Finally, but most importantly, when you are talking about cloud services, and I've mentioned this earlier, we talked about cloud management. And cloud management is today a big concern for anybody that's looking at cloud. So when you acquire cloud services, let's say from a managed service provider like Zane, right? We typically, on a private cloud, it's an all or nothing, right? You buy a particular service that, irrespective of how much you use it, within a period of a month, you'll still be charged for that particular month. This is not true cloud consumption. Cloud consumption is based on the concept of utility billing. But a lot of you in the corporate and enterprise space, public sector included, your procurement is not familiar with utility billing for IT. Hence, a lot of companies prefer to provide it at a fixed cost. However, eventually, you will be requiring utility-like billing, and this brings the cost management issue into the spotlight. Why? Because you can have a developer that spins up a test and dev machine with an Oracle or a SQL database, and then you'll get a sticker shock at the end of the month that you have to pay $20,000 because he forgot to turn off that machine. Cost management becomes an integrated part of your offering, of your solution, because it proactively addresses those problems before they happen. Okay? So any organization that wants to go to cloud need to look at all of this, but they also need to look at the stakeholders' requirements. Irrespective of the role of the individual, whether we're talking to an IT decision maker, CIO, CTO, IT manager, they have similar requirements. They need predictability, right? When my neck is on the line, I need to make sure that the service is up and running no matter what. I need it to be predictable. If there is downtime, I need to plan for it, okay? Managed services, I want to make sure my team, you're all in public sector, right? You're not in the business of IT. You're using IT to enable your business. Your IT team should focus on how to use technology to solve your business problems. They shouldn't have to worry about, how do I manage a database? Should I patch Tuesdays for Microsoft? Should I use this patch, or should I skip this month and patch next month? Backup. How am I doing my backup, my rotations? Those things, those commodity workloads, you should offload them and leverage your valuable IT resources for stuff that matter. Workloads that are critical for your business that a company like, take for example, Zaintech, will not be able to understand because this is very specific to your industry. But we can offload those commodity workloads so that you can leverage that platform to the extreme. And finally, be able to innovate and adopt technologies at the pace that is required for your business. If we look from a CFO perspective, and CFO here could be a finance, a CFO, any type of role that is looking at budgets. One of the core components of cloud in any flavor is that it shifts the investments from a CapEx to an OpEx model. Okay? Obviously, predictability and cost predictability is a very important topic for anybody that has to work with budgets. So a good example, wouldn't it be great that when I bring in a new employee into the organization, I know exactly what that employee would cost me from an IT perspective? So I know that it's going to cost me $1,000 per year, all inclusive. I don't have to worry about laptop costs, connectivity, applications. I have a fixed cost. This is what cloud should bring to the table. And most importantly, bringing value, right? Any investment I make, I should get my return out of it. Now, from an IT professional, the person that is actually doing the work, today, a lot of those resources are bogged down by mundane and commodity workloads. What we want to do, we want to help them focus and get clarity on their role. Where can they make the biggest impact and take away those mundane workloads so that they can focus and deliver better results. Give them a reliable infrastructure. Last year has been a disaster in IT. We had chip shortages that any piece of IT equipment would have a 6 to 12 month delivery time. Guess what? If you have a critical component of one of your servers break down, you're lucky if you can get a replacement part in 3 to 6 months. What happens? If you don't have a cloud platform that is scalable, you're stuck. You have a system that is down because you don't have a platform to support it. And finally, the ability to scale. Going back to the example I gave on Qatar, you will need to have those bursts. You will need to be able to scale and provide capacity as needed, but you cannot do this with traditional platforms. So this is the stakeholders' view. So what does managed services, what are they designed to? 3 areas. We typically look at managing the platform, but this is by design, everybody should provide you with that. Irrespective of which cloud solution you decided, whether it is a private cloud, a hybrid cloud, a public cloud, you have a managed infrastructure. Beyond that, you need to move up. This is the stack. It starts with network, storage, servers, virtualization, OS, database, application platform, and the actual business application. The higher up the stack, the better it is for you to actually leverage the power of the cloud, because it allows you to focus on what you do best and remove any of the complexity that is coming with cloud. So typically, managed services start at an OS, database, and managed application. The application could be anything. It could be a business application. It could be a web application in a serverless environment or a microservices, on DevOps, containers. I can give you a ton of buzzwords, but the concept is the same. The whole idea is take the complexity out and leverage the capability within your team. Okay, and with that, I think it's my last slide. I would like to keep it simple to this point, and if you have any questions, happy to take them.
شكرا جزيلا أستاذ كريم قلعاوي من شركة زين. حقيقة عرض جيد، ولكن الوقت أدركنا.